Okay, well, here we are again, folks. Hope everyone had a fantastic day. I'm sure everybody's kind of getting back to normal from the election anxiety or post-election disorder, I think they call it. Welcome back. Today, our show is going to be about leadership. It's going to be about uh, leadership after elections, the lack of leadership. We were having a conversation, and we sort of collectively agreed that there's somewhat of a lack of leadership in the political arena. I think locally, we were speaking more, I think locally and statewide, and I guess nationally. And we think it's important to have leadership because many people um, like strong leaders. You know, football teams, the quarterback. If you're on the Chicago Bulls, it's Michael Jordan. Because a leader leads by example, and I think if anything, I think this election cycle showed me was that when there's a lack of leadership, for instance, on the coronavirus, we have the worst stats of any country in the world in terms of how many cases of coronavirus we have. I think in Minneapolis, they were saying like one out of every three people that's getting tested are testing positive, and that number should be below 2%. So I think because of a lack of leadership, we have a lot of problems. So we wanted to explore a little bit today how we can maybe help out a little bit. Maybe we need to step up. We need to hold people accountable, and we need to recognize a leader and support him. Uh,
Okay,
Mike?
and when we talk about the leaders and one leader in particular, who at first said the coronavirus was a hoax and all this, and these are the type of leaders that we don't need. We need people, that we're going to say, hey, give us the truth. This is what you got to do. It's like, hey, if you're going to drop the bomb, let us know ahead of time so we can build a bomb shelter or take some other actions and stuff. But the way that this went down, is inexcusable, because well, I didn't want nobody to panic. All the people, like, just think, in the state of Ohio, was 300,000 people with coronavirus. That's the equivalent of the city of Cleveland. Just imagine the whole city of Cleveland, everybody here has coronavirus.
That's almost a true statement there. A lot of people do.
Yeah,
But
see,
that's a lot of people. I get your point.
but that's not a true figure because there's there's 6 degrees of separation.
Hmm.
So the actual number, you can actually multiply it by, they even said it on TV, about 2.5, but you got to go 2.5 to 6 times more by association. That's how they're coming up with a lot. That's why it's growing so fast. Because if I have it, then they got to test my wife. They got to test everybody that I've been around. They got to test the kids, the grandkids, and you're getting 5 or 10 out of that group.
Right.
So until we can't really get a group really a good figure. We'll never get a real good figure because we hope to have the you know we hope to have it all solved in the next few months. But we can't even imagine how many people have it. We can't even
They,
imagine.
I don't think they wanted to know. Some people
Right.
didn't want to know because if they knew, it would have been even more of a travesty. So what you do is you slow down testing. You say it's a hoax. It's not really true. You slow down testing. Um, you discourage people from taking it serious. There's, when you have people that, like, there was a biker rally in, what was it, South Dakota, I believe it was, a couple months ago,
Yeah.
with
That
four
all
or
those
five
people
hundred
got it.
thousand people. But now, every if it's South Dakota now is off the charts. They're totally out of hospital beds, and mostly because of the rally.
Yeah.
Because when you I read a stat today that said even in Cleveland, say if you go to a gathering of 10 people in Cleveland, there's a 50% chance that you'll get exposed to coronavirus. If you go to a gathering of 25 people, there's a 95% chance that you'll get exposed to coronavirus.
Let me jump in for a minute.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I don't want to sound cynical, but
Mhm.
if this is the case, they're never going to get it under control.
That's what we're saying.
Well,
Never, because I'm gonna tell you the reason why.
Mhm.
You ever go out to Amazon? A couple of friends of mine work out there.
Mhm.
It's like Grand Central Station.
Right?
Yeah,
I went to pick up somebody one night. So every day it's like 4,000 people bumping into each other who have been bumping into people on the great,
Right.
bigger community. How the hell are we ever going to stop it?
Well, this is how you stop it. This is how you stop it. First of all, everybody's got to wear a mask. And that's how like somebody said to me one time, they said, well, you could cure AIDS next week. I said, how? They said, people stop having sex. Well, that's probably not going to happen, but it's probably easier to wear a mask. If everybody will wear a mask everywhere they go, like they do in some other countries, in New Zealand, in some countries, when you go out, you have to have a mask on. If everybody would wear a mask, eventually you would get a handle on the spread.
But Robert, check this out. I went to a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and you go on, everybody's masked up, all the waiters and managers. You sit down, everybody takes their mask off to eat. So now we're breathing. I hear people coughing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's probably not, probably not a good environment. It's not an environment that's conducive to stopping the virus. When we had shut down before, we had really slowed it down and got a handle.
Slowed it down. You're absolutely right.
And if people had worn masks then, if we'd had leadership, is that word leadership again? If the leadership had said, wear a mask, we probably should wear a mask to stop the spread, we probably would have had this thing under control by now. But our leadership said, well, it's a hoax.
But all you need is one person, right? Now, our governor has said, he's making it mandatory for all public places. You got to wear a mask. He seems like he's being pretty proactive.
Well, he's being proactive now that his leader is not in office anymore.
His boy
is not in office anymore, so he can be a little more proactive.
But let me tell you,
this is too little, too late, man.
Right, I'm getting ready to say y'all can give him all the kudos you want, but he dropped the ball on this.
Dropped the ball. Man.
He just said on Thursday or Friday that if when it gets worse, we're gonna shut it all down like we did before. But it was at 5,000 a day then. Now it's at 7,000. So what we got to do? You got to go to 10,000 before you shut it down. You should have shut it down a long time ago. You should have never started it back up.
But we got to move forward from where we're at right now, though.
Right.
The question is, what is the way forward?
But let me tell you, Burl. Let me tell you this. You brought up a good point about Amazon, because there's a lawsuit right now for one of the guys that worked at Amazon who's suing Amazon because they wasn't giving them PPEs, they wasn't giving them the right things, they wasn't cleaning, and they had people working on top of each other. And it's like it's mostly minorities that work there. Mm-hmm. That's on the floor and that's packing. They have the the Caucasians in the offices and being managers and stuff. But most of the people on the floor that are pulling the thing, they in close proximity of each other.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, I think, and I think that's one of the things that is characteristic of this virus is that a lot of people that get exposed are people that don't make as much money. They're not managers. They're worker bees. And there a lot of them are Black and brown.
Did you hear Cuomo today? Did you hear Cuomo?
No.
When he was talking about he want to prosecute or sue the president because he said that New York wasn't going to get the virus.
They weren't going to get the vaccine. Yeah.
Vaccine, and I'm saying like when he said that, I was there like whoa, and and Cuomo came with it. He said most of the people that have it here, the ones that's susceptible to it are the minority people, and that's and he was quoting the Constitution, saying that you're depriving these people of stuff that they got God-given right to get, and he's suing the president, man. It's just if y'all haven't seen that or heard that, y'all can find it somewhere.
Hey, but let me on that note, let me ask you a question, Mike, and you too, Robert. Mm-hmm. When they come out with the vaccine, are you gonna take it?
Yeah, after you and Mike try it out, and I see that.
Well, that means you're not taking it.
You know what? I'm taking it. If Dr. Fauci says it's legitimate, I would probably take it.
Man, but
I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take it if this other guy. What's the guy that they got now heading up the city? The guy. Well, Pence heads up the task force.
Hey, let me share something with you. I used to work at an ABC affiliate in Cleveland. I won't do the call letters, but anyway, I was a film editor there a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It was around the time the swine flu came out.
Okay.
And people were really reluctant to take it, especially African Americans, because we think of Tuskegee study and things like that. So very distrustful of the dominant culture, so to speak. But anyway, George Forbes got on TV and said, "I'm going to take this shot so black people won't be afraid to take it." And he got up on the air, rolled his sleeve up, they gave him a shot. And the next day somebody told me, and I still didn't get in line. The next day somebody told me that was actually a shot of B12 he got. I don't know if that was true because I can't prove any of it. And that was how many years ago? 45 years ago.
Well,
conspiracy theories have been around since the beginning of time.
It's the same thing with the
who knows?
Some people take it, some people won't. It's just like I wouldn't take the flu shot for many years, and then one day I got sick with the flu. Every year since then, I'm waiting on my flu shot.
Matter of fact, I got to get mine this week.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to the doctor in another week, and I'm that's all. I had my flu shot, my pneumonia shot. Because
no, I mean, hey, I'm not a doctor, and I'm giving no medical advice to anybody. So right. I always say, whatever your heart tells you, that's what you should do. But for me personally, I'm not taking it. I know a lady who, my mother used to send her a meal every Sunday. Her name was Ruth. I used to take it to her. And she was 104 years old, lived by herself, just her and her dog. Only thing wrong with her, she was a little hard of hearing. Little thin lady, mind sharp, everything. Mm-hmm. I said, one day I asked her, I said, "Ruth, what is the secret to long life?" And she told me, "Stay away from hospitals and stay away from doctors." That was the thing. Live to be 104. I said, "What do your doctors say about this?" They all did.
She was just blessed.
No, she was just blessed with good genes.
Well, you know what? I like that philosophy. So I'm kind of
back when they were first talking about doing this and getting the vaccine and stuff, there was a doctor that said, it was all on Facebook and other places, and like I say, the Facebook news and all that stuff, it'd be like, okay, then you got that on Facebook. But the thing is yeah, there's some deception on a lot of deception on there, but there's a lot of truth on a lot of stuff. But the lady said that she said the frontline people and the elderly are going to get it first,
right?
Before they even start talking about it. This doctor said, the nurses and the doctors they're going to get it first, and right. Half of those people that get it are going to die. And I was just like, and she basically told.
Why did she say half the people that get it are going to die?
Because
from vaccine, or they're going to die.
Because it's unproven, and that they were basically the first people are guinea pigs.
Well, that's the reason they have phase 3.
We understand that.
Yeah. But that's why they have phase 3 trials.
Right.
So they can try it out on volunteers,
Those they're being I've been in the volunteer thing too myself. When they were doing diabetic studies and stuff. And they sometimes the figures and stuff is not really what's going on. Not saying everybody cheats or nothing, but you got to figure like this. We all different. And there's going to be some people who are going to have these underlying, just like when you see these things and they say, if you have this or you're allergic to the ingredients, it's how do you know you're allergic to the ingredients unless you get it and then you have a bad reaction and then you're allergic to it.
Well, if it's 90, If it's 95% effective,
Okay.
that means it's not going to be effective in 5% of people.
Well,
So you say, just say out of a million people, that means 50,000, it's not going to be effective. Well, say out of 50,000, say 15 or 20,000 are over the age of 70. Well, say people over the age of 70 to get it, maybe the mortality rate is 30%. So
Yeah,
that tells you right there, you got 3,000 to 5,000 people that are gonna gonna pass away from it. But then you have a lot more that'll probably be saved. It's just like I remember when they had the polio vaccine. You guys took that. I know you did.
Oh
We
yeah.
had to, yeah.
To us at school on a sugar cube.
Right.
And we had to get a shot for a booster, and everybody took it.
Right.
And that eliminated polio. There was no more polio. You haven't heard of anybody having polio since they had the vaccine. The difference then was a polio vaccine and insulin was given away to everybody for free. The formula was given away for free. They didn't charge for insulin, the formula, and they didn't charge for polio. But that eliminated polio.
It didn't cost so much and they gave it away free. But go ahead.
Yeah,
But now we got guys like Bill Gates investing in these vaccines.
No, the reason it costs so much is because the reason it costs so much is because your pharmaceutical companies are totally out of control. I mean, they have the highest paid executives. They make more money than anything. I mean, they even sell drugs. I mean, they sell dope, man. Look at the opioid. They say, okay, we'll give you $8 billion. We'll pay you $8 billion for a penalty. Well, they probably made close to 80 or 90.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's just game, And Bill Gates is the one pushing these vaccines, and his money is invested in these companies, Merck and some of these other companies that are producing these vaccines.
Well, one thing that Bill Gates did.
Trump and the Republicans got money in the pharmaceutical companies too.
Probably Democrats too.
Right. But one thing that Bill Gates did.
What did he do?
Bill Gates's money pretty much single-handedly stopped the spread of AIDS in Africa and in many other parts of the world.
I don't.
That's true. That's true. Bill Gates's money and Melinda Gates's money funded drugs for AIDS for people who couldn't afford it all around.
Do you know what? I was out in California.
That's a fact. That's not something I'm just saying.
I'm not talking. Okay, we'll just time out. I was in Santa Barbara, California. There was a guy doing a lecture. His name was Zeers Miles, white guy. He passed some time back, but he did a lot of heavy research, and he said we were responsible for AIDS in Africa. They said they were giving. It started out as a supposed smallpox eradication campaign, but the drug that they were giving out were laced with AIDS that had like a 18-month or something time period on it, and then it would manifest. And they did, and he had all the documentation. He's a researcher. They did it in San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles too. And the reason they picked those, when they did it over here, it was under a, like a Hep C or something like that vaccine. And they used gay men. And if they wanted a study, they said, we're doing some studies, so we want to get the people they wanted were highly promiscuous gay men, because they were the ones coming down with this. So as it turned out, the same thing, their hepatitis C vaccine was, according to Zeers Miles, laced with this thing too. And it was, you could see the results of it. According to him, he had tons of research. He had been on it for.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of things I'll say is that, first of all, the hepatitis C vaccine did not come about until about 2018. So his information is incorrect there.
And
second of all,
he was this was like in the 90s.
Wait a minute, bro. Let me finish.
Yeah. Second of all, in the 90s, they didn't even know what hepatitis C was until 1990. They used to call it non-A, non-B. So the reason I say that is because I think a lot of times I'm skeptical a lot of times when people say things like that, because I don't the rate of AIDS in Africa went down after Bill Gates and Melinda Gates got involved. It didn't go up; it went down.
Hey, let me say this.
It's practically, people now. I know a couple people who've been living with HIV positive, and one guy with AIDS for almost 40 years. So the medicines that Bill Gates bankrolled has done a lot of good. AIDS is not. It used to be a death sentence. It's not a death sentence anymore.
Bro, let me say this. Had you ever heard of patient zero with the AIDS doing the AIDS thing? There was
I heard it. I can't remember a whole lot about it. But go ahead.
It was a guy who really started the AIDS. That's what I'm saying. I read that stuff that that you're talking about, but then even like on 60 Minutes and in other papers, I knew people who are investigative reporters that told the real story about the AIDS and stuff. And this guy, he was a flight attendant. His name was Delgado, something like that. I forgot his first name. But he was going over to Africa to have sex with Africans, and he contracted the AIDS there. They call him Patient Zero. And you look it up on.
I've read that story. I've read.
Yeah. So he came here, and they say that the reason that it got into the gay community because he brought it over here. Then they were going into these bathhouses and stuff. And
he moved to San Francisco.
Right.
He moved to San Francisco.
The women with the down low guys who was having sex with guys and coming home, bringing it home to their wives and stuff. And that's how it was running rampant.
Well, no, but he was saying that this was a biological weapon.
It was. That's why if they were using it. In fact, America was financing the research over there. They had the monkeys because see, there was a doctor, Dr. Yendo. His name was Dr. Yendo. He came over to when I was working at University Hospital. He was working case reserve. He was in charge of the baboons. That's what you call them, the baboons. And because the baboons had them, the baboons had them, and they were trying to see to develop to extract the antibodies out of the baboons right here at Case Western Reserve, to fight the AIDS. But he was the one, he was in charge of them. And he was telling me that the baboons and the monkeys, they have the HIV, but it don't affect them
sick,
the way that it affects humans. But he was saying that they was doing the research there. They got involved in something like the monkey blood got into one of the Africans there. One of the African guys there was gay, and Delgado had slept with him. And that's why they call him Patient Zero, because he was the one that brought it over to America.
Yeah, he was the first one that they could track.
Right.
But, HIV, just like the coronavirus, was a virus that existed in animals, and animal viruses typically don't jump species to humans.
Right.
But for some reason, the AIDS virus did too, and the coronavirus did too. I've heard people say, well, it was a Chinese weapon of mass destruction, or it was a biological weapon.
Chemical warfare.
Yeah, I mean
biological warfare.
If I got a biological weapon, I'm not going to use it on my own people. So I mean,
well,
I think a lot of these conspiracy theories, man, just to get the.
Well, I'm gonna do a little more research for our next show. I can have the facts on, but he laid it down, and the government at the time didn't care about the gay community catching it. They said they're not making any babies anyway. So that was why they were that test group, according to this Zero's Miles. I'm going to bring all the scholarship study so the next time we can talk, we can go further into it. But just on this note, this government has had programs like the King Alfred Plan, Global 2000, plans to reduce world populations and particularly Black and brown races. So I'm a little hesitant, they talk about same people that give you the problem now say we got the cure. I'm not feeling it,
Well, the conspiracy theory has always been there. And the thing is that we can't really trust the government. It wasn't until really when they had the Freedom of Information Act that we could go in and find out stuff.
Right.
Even with that, they don't want to give us the right information. They get stuff that's blacked out and pages missing, and so.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get the information, and half of the pages have magic marker on it.
Yeah.
But that's why.
I liked about Zero's Miles. He went outside the country. He was in Canada, Japan, England, and France, and different places. He did world research. He wasn't just here. So the guy was a serious researcher. But I'm gonna bring that back because that's something we got to think about, huh?
I read his work. I know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that anytime you get a disease, they always want to blame it. They call it the Chinese virus. AIDS came from Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, no, maybe the COVID didn't come from Africa. Maybe it came from Europe. And they always want to blame it on a race of people or a group of people, when that may not necessarily be the case.
It might have been invented in a lab, you know?
I mean, you just never know. You know, they do a lot of biological experimentation. It could have been.
Not just
Yeah.
they have social and political,
Yeah.
economic reasons.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I don't believe, I never felt for 1 minute that AIDS was a gay disease. And I think it's wrong to say that, because a virus doesn't go around and say, oh, well, he's not gay, so I won't infect him.
no, but I pointed that out. But I didn't say it was the gay
when
disease.
somebody says something like that, though, that just shows you how ridiculous.
well, you know,
No. He's saying it was.
the guys were giving it to their wives and stuff, and no one got through.
Yeah,
I'm saying that's why it ran rapid, because first it went to the gay community and spread it out. But anybody can get it. I mean,
anybody can get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where they were using them for guinea pigs, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well,
according to his brother.
I think a lot of times that's why it's good to do your own research, because conspiracy theories, you know, there's conspiracy theory that the coronavirus is a hoax. You know,
courtesy of number 46.
Conspiracy theory that the coronavirus is just a hoax. It really doesn't exist. And I've had a couple of my neighbors say that. I had a neighbor of mine tell me that 2 or 3 months ago. He said, I think it's overblown.
Well, some people think it's just like another influenza, you know.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but I think that's why it's good to do your own research, and to you can't trust what you read on Facebook.
Oh yeah, you
can't trust everything that you read in a book. You can't trust everything that you see on TV.
Right. You got to go to a lot of sources and make your own decision.
Another planet, and you watch Fox News for a week, and then the next week you watch MSNBC, and then the next week you watch CNN. Well, you'd say, well, hell, I don't know what the hell's going on.
You know, this is my philosophy. You know, when you hear something or read something or see something, there's only 3 things that the brain does. There's only 3 things that the brain does. You either accept it, reject it, and or store it for future reference.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you research it and you find this, okay, then, well, this makes sense.
You know? Yeah, and I mean, you know, people's opinions will change, you know. At one time, it was a general consensus that the world was flat. Then, you know, more information and say, okay, well, it's not flat, you know.
Right. But I think that we're living in a different time now. The reason I said that, we did a show about 6 or 8 weeks ago on surveillance capitalism,
right?
And how social media can predict and sort of steer you to certain opinions. It can make you believe things that are not true. You know what I'm saying? It can, if you want to look up Facebook contagion experiments, where they can take your emotions and transfer them to me. They can make me mad at Mike Shomo for no reason, just, because, so social media companies, surveillance capitalism is that they look at what you do. They take your things that you do, things that you believe, things that you watch. They extract information from you, and they use it to sell you things. But not only do they sell you things, they use it to tell you who to vote for, or to make you more comfortable voting for one person than the other.
Well,
and it's gone to a whole different level now, because they use them in political campaigns. That's how Obama and Trump got elected. That's how Trump got elected, through Cambridge Analytica. They got all the stuff from Facebook, all the information from Facebook, and they knew who were likely to vote for him, who weren't likely to vote for him.
But Rob, have you heard the latest on that?
What's that?
Trump is trying to sue them people now, saying that they gave the technology to Biden now.
Well, you know what? The thing about
The
surveillance
same stuff he
capitalism,
used to win.
well, that's why I don't know if you remember, but Obama, he gave his last State of Union address, you know, and a lot of Obama's people were from Google. Google
Right.
invented and pioneered surveillance capitalism.
Right.
Then what's the young lady's name who's head of operations for Facebook? Sandberg. And she went to Facebook. That's why they paid her all those billions of dollars to bring that technology over there, the knowledge. But Google pioneered it, and a lot of Obama's early people were from Google, you know, and that's why he said he made the comment. Somebody told him, they said, oh yeah, I mean, it was a time when that guy said, oh, you lie and blah blah blah, you know, on the State of Union speech. And Obama said, well, the people like me. That's why I got elected twice. And he said, if I ran again, I'd get elected again.
Right.
Because he was the first one to really take advantage of surveillance capitalism in a campaign.
Well,
Now
you know who else
everybody
was?
does it. Everybody does it. Trump
You know
did it
who
with
else,
Cambridge Analytica. Go ahead.
Robert, you know who did it before him was, you remember when Dukakis was running?
Uh-huh.
He had an unsuccessful campaign, but I remember initially he was doing good. He came out of the block really fast. And he had raised a lot of money, and they were asking him how you raised it. He said just through the internet, you know. So he was making capital, you know, via surveillance capital.
Yeah, yeah.
So one little slip up of something he said, and it was just looped and everything until, you know, they really just took him out of the mix.
Well, I think now it's at a whole different level. Like you said Trump was mad because his people are saying that they're selling. He got to sue the company because they're selling the information of Biden. Well, they'll sell it to you if you got enough money. They'll sell it to me. They'll sell it to Verl. They'll sell it to anybody.
Right.
But that's why, and now, you know, in the music business now, they use data analytics and surveillance capitalism. They use data extracted from surveillance capitalism to predict who's going to be a star before they become a star. I remember when who was it, The Weeknd? He got an award one time before he even had a record out. The same thing happened with Drake too, you know. And they said, you know, Cardi B.
That was amazing, yeah.
They said, well, she's going to be huge, you know.
She's richer than Craig now.
She's going to be big, you know.
What's this other girl? Her name is something like Mai Tai or something like that. This other girl out.
I don't know.
I can't think of Mai something. MAI something.
Yeah, yeah.
You should know that. You're in the current music business. And
Khalid, when he first came out, it was an article in Billboard. He's going to be huge. Well, how the hell do you know that? Well, you know that because you can look at his data. Yeah, you did your research. You can look at his data, and you can know the sort of fans that he would draw, and you can manipulate those fans, and you can manipulate what they call his song vector. Song vectors are, you know, if you make a song, you have a certain group of fans, you know, that attracted to you for whatever reason. And they find out that maybe Mike has the same group of fans that's attracted to him. And so they find that there's commonalities in those two reasons. So if they put both of those things together, say your fans may like 808s in a song, they like a heavy bass beat, and maybe his fans, they like strings. So you take 808s and you put it with some strings, and now you get both the fans. You know, and what happens if you get an artist who fits the profile, and if you notice, you look at a lot of these pop artists, and the rappers too, they all pretty much look alike and sound alike. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to tell one from the other now. You know, say, who's that? You know, well, that's the new flavor of the week.
And,
you know?
and they take the songs and they, you know, you got something that's a hit. And they used to do when I was working in the studio, the engineer would, you know, he want to research beats per minute. They'll look at a song that's hot on the list, and they try to find out how many beats per minute is in there. Then they take the beats per minute and try to duplicate it, you know, with the artist that they're working with.
But they reverse engineer the song. As a matter of fact, you're right. They'll take the same song. I remember I was doing a song for this young lady's pop artist I had one time, and you know, the producer said, well, what kind of sound are you looking for? I said, well, you know, this song by Carmen, Broken Hearted. I said, I really like that feel. You know what I'm saying? It kind of moves. You can dance to it. It's got that poppy feel, you know, and it's got a little rap in it. You know, I said, so I kind of like that. So what did he do? He took that song, changed the key of the song, kept it in the same time, flipped a few things around, and the song didn't sound like their song, but it had the essence of that same song.
Right.
Right.
So now what happened nowadays is they can just run that song through let me see, who is it? Spotify, and a lot of companies have um, analysis that they can do on that song, a sound analysis, where they can take that song and they can figure out, from the information they have from Verl, what is it that Verl likes about the song? What is it that Mike likes about the Ariana Grande song? Well, he likes it when she sings real high and she does those devilish runs. He said, well, let's put some runs and let's find out what Verl likes and put that in the song. And then we got this artist over here that kind of looks a little bit like her and she can sing too.
Right.
And we'll write a similar song for her. And then she pops up and you say, oh man, she sounds just like Ariana Grande, and
Right.
that's what they do. Yeah. And see that same surveillance capitalism, data analytics, you can use the same thing in politics too. That's why you could have the same people vote for Obama and then turn around and vote for Trump. Now, that don't make any sense.
Make no sense at all.
It's just about who's getting fed what,
Yeah, it makes no sense. If you try to explain that to somebody, you can't explain it.
Actually, it does. Actually,
it's capitalism. Yeah.
Robert, actually, it does. It's just programming. It's like you can use your one computer to do something. You put a different program in it. The same computer is going to do something totally opposite.
It's true.
Just directing that information.
But do y'all remember what Obama said last night? He said, it's not about issues. It's not about what you can do for nobody. It's just, you just want to make them like you.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
see, that's why.
They don't care about the issue. Don't care about the issue. Nobody said anything. He said, but because here you got a guy. Y'all know all the stuff that Trump has said. Even before he was running, they were saying, "Hey, why don't you run for president?" He said, "Well, if I ran for president, I would run as a Republican because they'll believe anything. They're just stupid like that." And
he said that. Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, he said that. But see, people forgot or they don't care about him saying that. They just say, "Okay."
But they don't care. It's about who you like, man.
Right, you figured like the Latinos. He basically like played the dozen with them. Like, these people, they murderers, they're rapists, you don't want them here. I was like, wow. And he got a lot of the Latino vote. And I was just
How about the black men voting for him? I mean,
Right.
And you know that everybody knows that they're not just favorite people. I mean, probably not his least favorite people, but
Right.
they still voted for him, And people, I think you can, what's data analytics and surveillance capitalism does, it can manipulate, the individual to believe certain things or to feel a certain way, and that's why it's so dangerous, man, because you get somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, he's like, whoever got the most money, come holler at me,
Right.
So he doesn't really care if it's Trump, if it's Obama, if it's Biden. He don't care who it is. If you got the most money, you can get the best surveillance capitalism package. He kind of went with Trump a little bit because Trump is in power and he doesn't want that antitrust legislation. So he kind of went with Trump. Now that Biden's in there, you might see a little different story, man.
Okay, so now when Biden is in there, how do we hold his feet to the fire? And then you turn around and somebody say, well, y'all didn't do Trump like that. Y'all didn't say nothing. Well, Trump wasn't in. But if we got a guy or we got an administration that's going to listen to our needs and what we need to, because you have people in America who have great ideas. Even Biden today says it's going to be the small business people that get us out of this. And that's absolutely correct. Because see, now a lot of small businesses are going to be made from these big companies saying, we don't need all these people, but we'll put these people, we'll use their service, we'll set them up in their business or encourage them to set up in the business. And we'll subcontract that work out to them, and we ain't got to pay benefits, and then they grow their business and they can hire some people.
Well, about 72% of people that work in jobs work in small businesses. it's not, you think everybody thinks, well, everybody works at General Motors.
Oh no, it's small. It's
It's,
small
it's
business.
only 20 some percent of people actually work for large
You
companies.
have to save. You have to
Yeah.
save the small business. You
Yeah.
got to keep them
Yeah.
going. I mean,
So-
look at the restaurant business and and the service business and the
Airline business,
the
yeah.
janitor,
yeah.
the janitorial service and the cleaning industry. I mean,
Manufacturing, yeah.
yeah,
And see, the reason, I think one of the main reasons that leadership at this particular juncture is so important is that without proper leadership, you cannot get a handle on this virus. If you don't get a handle on this virus, there won't be any small business because nobody will be able to go to work. There
well,
won't be
I'm gonna
any
tell you,
big
I'm gonna tell you
businesses.
one thing.
There won't be anybody making money that can afford to buy the things that you make in your business.
Kind of like it is now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So until you get a handle on this virus, you can't improve the economy. Now the stock market does good. The reason the stock market is doing good because all the companies that got PPP loans, well, they said, shoot, I can get a 1% loan, and I know Amazon's going to double in the next 3 months because it
I
just
take
took
that
a
money and
big
invest
dip.
it.
You said, hell,
Yeah.
I'll keep the people on the payroll, but I'm taking this money and I'm buying Amazon stock, or I'm buying pharmaceutical stock. Or, well, Trump, I got a call from, Mike Pompeo, and he said to dump this stock or buy this stock. And I tend to believe him,
Well, back when the oil crisis was what is that, back in 2000, 2000.
Well, it was actually before that. It was like.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, but at that time, I'm trying to go back to where everybody was complaining about how the gas went up and stuff. And it was a guy on the radio. I was in Pittsburgh, and the guy on the radio, he was saying, well, look, he said, I know y'all complaining about these gas prices and this. And he said, but if you got money, buy some gas stock, buy some oil stock, because it's going up.
Yeah,
when I was in college, I had left college and I went to see a friend of mine. And I had I had a big chunk of change. And I went to see him. And I said, yeah, man, I'm getting ready to buy me a Mercedes Benz, man. I like them. I like that. And there was a Jewish girl in there and at about $40,000. And the lady said, I'm just talking to him. And I didn't even know I was talking that loud, but I was talking to my friend Paul. I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to buy this Benz, this 6.9. I like that, with the hydropneumatic shocks and all that stuff. I said, I'm getting ready to buy. They only made like about 5,000 of them or something like that. And what happened was,
she couldn't believe he was that crazy, huh?
Yeah. But she was a young Jewish girl in college, and she said, look, don't spend that money on no car. You take that money and you buy some gold futures. And I said, gold futures? I said, what is that? He said, well, you buy the gold and and they give you certificates saying that you have this gold. I said, you mean to tell me I don't get the gold itself? I got some papers that say, I got gold. I was like, no, but let me tell you, gold was like 70.
We have somebody on the line, on the back line or something.
Not me.
Okay.
Not here.
We hear somebody talking. Is it?
Okay. He had, but the gold was like $76 an ounce at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So we talking about 1975, something like that. But gold went up to, if I had them gold futures, I wouldn't be hanging around you guys. No, but I'm saying.
Yeah, you'd be richer than cream.
Yeah. But those are the life lessons that you learn,
right,
that you can employ now because you know better.
Yeah.
It's funny too because I used to work in a Mercedes store, and I did several different jobs. I did finance. I was a sales manager one time. I sold cars, and I worked in a few different dealerships. But the one thing that used to always really make me curious was that the people that didn't have a whole lot of money, they may have a little bit of money, they would come in and they would pay cash for a car.
Right.
And then the guy that, was a currency trader that, was sitting on $300, $400, $500 million, he would always lease it.
Total write-off.
Well, it's a dumb buying a car, spending 100, 200 grand on a car is probably one of the stupidest investments you can make.
Yeah, he could write it off.
Yeah, that's
He
what I'm
could say
saying.
the company car, you know,
Yeah,
cost him nothing.
he was just buying a car to drive, just a car that he thought was a nice car to drive. And he'd pay, back then you could lease an S-Class, you put 5 grand down, maybe 1,200 a month, 1,300 a month, which is, it's a nice car payment, but it's a nice car. Rather than pay $120,000, $130,000 for it, when that money could be earning money,
That's what a guy told me a long time ago. He says, man, a car is the worst investment you can make because you always put money in and never get nothing out of it. So
It's a liability, yeah.
He said you depreciate the moment you drive it off the lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you never get it.
Yeah, you do. So I think, in terms of leadership, I think the number one thing we need leadership on is this virus.
Yeah.
We gotta get this virus under control.
Well, the vaccine
Go ahead.
will help. It's gonna help.
Oh, the vaccine's gonna help without a doubt. I mean, but I think till we get to the vaccine, we have to look at, what we can do now.
Yeah,
and what we can do now is we can wear masks.
Right.
And we can not congregate. In Cleveland, if you're going to Thanksgiving dinner, if there's 25 people there, 90% chance you'll get exposed. If you're going with 10 people, there's a 50% chance you'll get exposed. So, I mean, if you, was it Clint Eastwood said, you feel lucky, punk?
Well, do you?
Did I shoot 5 or was it 6? He said, you know what? He said, I don't even remember myself, Yeah. So if you feel like playing Russian roulette, you might play Russian roulette 5 times and spin the barrel and click, 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 or it might go off that first time. So I think, this virus is pretty bad. I've known some people that had it. Yeah, I know one guy that had it probably 4 or 5 months ago. Mm-hmm. And his mind still hasn't really come back. And he'll tell you, I mean, his mind still, and I said, man, I don't want nothing. It's going to steal the few brains I have left. You know what I'm saying? I need to keep all these freaking brain cells, So, and it's just a bad virus. And I think because people want to believe that it's a hoax and they want to believe that it doesn't do this, they want to believe that they can't catch it, is they kind of find comfort in that. But it's real. It's real.
So. But the thing is that they eradicated basically smallpox, and like got rid of polio and a lot of the the mumps, the measles, and chickenpox and all that stuff. It brought it down to a minimum. Mm-hmm. I have faith that the vaccine will work, and that's the only thing we'll never really know how many people had it, because that's all I'm saying, that we don't know. And we if we working on the vaccine, because a lot of people, until they do like a home test where you can test yourself at home and get the results and stuff, there's so many technologies that have to go through that to really test right now. But the main thing is to get a vaccine right now, so that we can at least get back to normal, or what we can do, or where you can go to the doctor and get tested and they'll know right away. My daughter took the test Friday or Thursday. She just got her results back today, but she said she was negative. But see, my daughter has the antibodies. She did the antibody test first, and she has the antibodies. So
maybe she might have had a taste of it. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Her being a doctor,
is this your daughter that's a physician?
Right.
Okay.
She could have got it, but she said after they found out that she had the antibody, then they want her plasma. They want. They say, well, we need your plasma now. So they can.
It's and another thing I would mention too is that one thing you want to keep in mind, is that people are actually starting to get the measles again, because a lot of people haven't gotten vaccinated for whatever reason for the measles. So a lot of people are starting to get the measles, and that's something that had completely gone away.
Well, they had a big block over in New York in the Jewish community where they had an outbreak of this was about a year or two ago. That when they had the outbreak of
Hey, somebody got something going on in the background. I hear
Not here.
somebody
that's my
talking.
family. That's my family. They disrespect. But go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, I was just going to say that, you know, viruses are never completely eliminated. You just
Right.
like with the measles and
Kind
the
of
mumps,
closet,
you get them
basically.
down to a level where it's almost negligible that nobody ever catches it. You know, and see, the thing about a vaccine, I think it's misleading because once you have a vaccine, okay, that's great, you got a vaccine. But the problem is you have to vaccinate people. And there's a few roadblocks to doing that. First of all, a lot of people don't want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another problem is how do you send something out to 300 million people? You know, I mean,
Well, it's on the TV every day.
yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
you mean you're talking about delivery, not just the message
to
delivery
deliver
of
back,
the virus.
I mean, Mike, you worked in logistics, and you know, I have two at General Motors, and if you try to send something out to 20,000 different places or 20,000 different people, it's really a job, you know.
You know,
It's
Talk
about
about,
supply chain, you know.
they
yeah,
setting it up now with the armed forces. You know,
okay,
they got a general who's in charge of it because they were saying they were asking the questions. Well, how how you gonna get this out when it's like you got to keep it at like 120 below zero.
mhm.
Now the new one that came out today uh, with the vaccine, they say it's like 95 or 94% effective, and then it doesn't have to use that really low temperature. I think they can.
Only you can keep it at 20 below, but it also can last at room temperature. What for? Was it a couple days or
How
24 hours?
long?
A couple of
That
days? Yeah.
means that people have to get, so they're gonna have some waste because if you got people lined up
Mhm.
and people don't get it and then something happens, are they gonna be at 24/7? They got to go through because if it's only good for 24 hours, then you figure the weekend they got to go, Saturday and Sunday too.
Well, they'll probably do it just like they did the polio vaccine. They say, you
Right,
know, everybody, everybody go to Shaker Heights High School,
right.
with your kids, and you're supposed to be there at 1 o'clock, and Vero, you're supposed to be there at 12:15 or wherever, and they
I think they did it by.
you
I
were
think they did it
assigned.
by.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think they did it by alphabetical order, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did too.
They
Yeah.
did it by alphabetical
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we had to wait till they got around to the S's.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
it's got to be proven to be effective, and then it's got to be delivered, and then you have to convince people that it's worth taking. And you have a certain responsibility to society. If you don't want to take the vaccine and you get sick, I don't think we should let you get everybody else sick.
Quarantine.
No, I think if you don't, I think we quarantine you like they do in Mexico. We put you in a stadium, and all the people that didn't want to take the vaccine, if they get sick, then they go to a place with other people like that. You know what I'm saying?
That
Because it's
sounds
not
like
Oh,
fair.
kind of like a leper colony.
that sound
Yeah,
like a concentration camp.
It's like
yeah,
a leper
but it's
colony.
not
Yeah.
fair. It's not fair if you don't want to take it and you get sick for you to infect Mike's family.
Rob, you take it first, man. You take it first. Let me see how you come out.
Well,
Then I'll think about it.
if I look at Dr. Fauci, who I have some faith in, and Michelle Obama, who I have some faith in, and some other leaders, this is what I'm talking about, leadership. If they feel like, well, hey, this is safe, I think this is safe to take, then I would consider taking it.
Yes.
If Pompeo and Mike Pence and those guys say it's safe, I'd say no. I'd rather drink
Oh,
bleach.
well, wait.
I'd rather drink bleach or put some light in my eye. So,
Hey, let me jump in for 1 minute.
uh-huh.
Since the show was on leadership, and we
Mhm.
do have a new president, and I'm hoping to see some leadership with regard to all the different things that affect our community.
Mhm.
I just picked up a little quick statistic. I had to go online, and it said all of Americans and minorities, with the exception of Asian Americans, have seen the worst outcomes than white people during the coronavirus pandemic. But Black Americans have fared the worst of all, with about 1 in every 1,000 Black Americans dying from COVID-19 since February. He said that's about 40,000 people who have lost their lives for their share of the U.S. population. Black people are dying in the pandemic at twice the rate of white Americans, of whom is about 1 in every 2,100 people have died.
Right.
But I also wanted to say that's interesting. 40,000 people, but I had some other statistics to compare. And that's why I'm saying we cannot exclusively focus on that virus, although it is important because if that's killing us, we won't get the other stuff. But also,
see a lot of it, and I just want to.
Wait.
Okay.
Let me just drop this in because it's all together. The 40,000, keep that in mind. In the United States, AIDS kills 227,000. Violent crime, 329,000. Accidents, 408,000. Cancer, 1,324,000. Heart disease, 2,503,000. And abortion, 14,500,000. So we do need leadership. We got a lot of things that's killing us, not just Corona.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to discount it. So everybody has to, talk to your medical professional, search your heart, and do what you think is best for you and your family and community.
Well, I think that a lot of it's socioeconomic too, because a lot of Black and brown people have jobs where they're exposed to other people.
Right.
I mean, if you work in fast food, if you're
at Amazon,
if you work at Amazon, you know what I'm saying?
Walmart.
And a lot of people, if you work at Walmart, you have jobs that expose you to a lot of different people. You have more exposure.
If you want a roof over your head, you've got to work.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I'd be willing to bet if you just look at this thing from an economic point of view, in terms of economics, I think what you'll find is that people that make $1 million a year or more, probably not too many of them get sick or exposed to anything.
Hey, you self-quarantine in your compound for 2 weeks, and you're cool.
Yeah. So I think and that's that whole thing about leadership, is that this has a socioeconomic impact.
Oh yeah.
Or aspect to it too, and I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. And a lot of it's access to healthcare too. I mean, if you can't go to the doctor because you're working, and you say, well, I got the sniffles and I think I may have something, and your boss says, well, I think you got the same thing I do. Get back to work. You don't have access to healthcare. And I think that plays into it also. So here again, that's leadership. We're the only Western civilized country that doesn't have some sort of guaranteed health care for people.
Well, when they talk about that, they're talking about socialized medicine and stuff. Socialized medicine. That's what they're afraid of. And it's like, no matter what it's called, as long as people have, access to, the health care.
Well, they call it.
These people say, it's just backwards. They say they pro-life, abortions and all this, but what about the life that's already here that y'all killing, that the police are killing? So how can you be pro-life and not have that in your conversation? Yeah. You're not pro-life,
Well, you call it. They call it socialized medicine because if you call anything socialist,
right,
people have at least a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yeah.
Because they don't really understand what socialism is.
Now, all the members of Congress got free health care.
Yeah, that's socialism. When you bail out all the companies, that's socialism for company owners.
That's rich folks' welfare, yeah.
I mean, but that's socialism. That's social.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Economics for wealthy people,
Yeah.
But when you say socialized medicine, the pharmaceutical companies say no, that's socialism. We're not for socialism because they know they wouldn't be able to charge you.
The profits wouldn't be as much.
$25,000 for a 2-week treatment or $1,000 a pill.
It's crazy. It's insane. Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to do that.
And they wouldn't be able to get their golden parachutes and everything and bonuses.
And see what's happening now is that's one of the fallacies of capitalism is, the wealth gets concentrated and it comes from the middle class, and for capitalism to exist, you need somebody down at the bottom for everybody to walk on. But what happens eventually is after they walk on them, if you're making $7 or $8 an hour, you're not buying cars. And now the people that thought they were middle class, now they're out of jobs, so they can't afford to buy the products that the wealthy people manufacture.
Yeah.
And then you put that together with Amazon putting them all out of business, and you have nobody to buy the products that are being produced. And that's why, every 5 to 10 years, we have to bail out. Capitalism has to bail itself out. We did it in 2000 with the dot-com crisis. 2008 was
financial crisis.
Yeah, financial crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And every 5 or 10 years, we're having to bail it out.
Having the crisis. You got a crisis.
Yeah. And see, a lot of people want to blame this financial crisis on the coronavirus and on Trump, but they didn't cause it. They just exacerbated it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But there was a crisis before.
Right.
Trump
It was falling apart before the coronavirus. It was falling apart.
Yeah. And all it did was kind of exacerbate it.
Yeah.
That's all it did. Yeah. So
what our time look like?
Well, our time is up, and we thank you for yours. So, closing thought, I would say that leadership is important. Do your research. When you hear things, we hear a lot of things now, about the virus and about the remedy and about this and that. Always do your research, dog. Any information that you want is available on the internet. Just about. Do your research, and hopefully just use a little common sense. Wear your mask. That's what we can do right now. We don't have a virus. We don't have an antidote or a vaccine right now, but we can wear our masks to kind of cut back on the spread, and just avoid large gatherings. I mean, if you just keep in mind, if you go around 25 people, 90% chance you'll get exposed. And if you feel, like Clint Eastwood said, you feel lucky, punk, go for it, But, just keep in mind that when you put yourself at risk, you're putting your family members and other people.
You can have a Zoom Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Zoom thing. That's what we talked about doing. We're Zoom, Yeah, I love you guys, but could you stay home this Thanksgiving?
All right.
Yep. So, yeah. Any closing thoughts, Verl or Mike?
No, I think we kind of touched it on. But the only last thing is with regard to leadership, people have to be proactive and consider themselves and become activists throughout the year. We can't just give a list of things that we want to our quote unquote leadership. We have to make sure that they follow through, because in the end, the people have the power if they exercise it,
Yeah.
They work for us, and we got to remember that.
And if you didn't vote, then you shouldn't have a say, right?
Well, I'm going to give them a chance to wake up,
Okay.
But
okay.
if you didn't vote, whatever happens, you asked for it some way or another,
Yeah, you asked for it. That's right. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and check me out tomorrow. I'll be on Talk Tuesday with Dr. Shomo and DrShomoKnows.com. We're going to be talking about living with diabetes, because I've been a diabetic since 1996, and we're going to be talking about how to stay safe and warning signs and stuff. So be sure to tune in tomorrow. The times on Facebook Live, or just go to DrShomoKnows.com. Thank you.
That's Dr. DrShomoKnows.com. Dr. Shomo Knows.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, hey, once again, we, our time is up. We thank you for yours, but until we meet again, adios.
All right.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
All right.